Yeah, okay. So we are done with our core concepts, like including collections, exceptions, threading, JDBC, right? So today onwards, like I mean, in the previous session, we already started a little bit of servlets, and a lot many were not there in the session. So we will just try to recap whatever we did there, and we will proceed. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the last session, we discussed about servlet. So what is servlet? What is a servlet, and what do you use for?
Servlet is a server-based technology.
Okay.
Um, like it is a technology that will have client-based architecture, like
Okay.
which will have um, which will communicate with each other through request and response.
Okay. Yeah. So I'll just try to recap whatever we discussed. So now
Yeah, yeah.
we are jumping into the web technologies, right? So in the earlier session, I mean, when we just discussed the first session, right? So we discussed like we have two types of programs or two types of applications in Java. We have like standalone application which runs using the main method, right? And we have web applications which needs some server support, right? And what is the server that we'll be using? We'll be using a Tomcat web server for a server support. So today onwards, we will start working or learning on web application. So first of all, before getting into a servlet, what is a web application? We have discussed a lot about these things, right? So what is a web application? So anyone wants to give a try? Give it a try. Nidhi, you want to give it a try?
Uh, don't know the definitions per se.
Okay, that's fine. So see, web application, it's an application that is built on Java. It can be of any technology. As we are learning Java, we'll talk more about Java. So web application is an application which is built on Java that runs on a server and it is accessible through web. As the name itself, it indicates it's a web application and the application is accessible through the web. All right. So what are the examples of web applications? So everything we do. Gmail is a web application because we are able to access using a web, right? We have kayak.com, we have icicibank.com, everything. Whatever you are trying through web, it can be treated as a web application. Make sense, everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now, as we are mentioning, this is a web application. You're able to see something out of it. So this is a view component, right? So you're able to see some kind of styles, see kayak, right? Some kind of layout, some text boxes, some buttons, right? All right. So if you have the ICICI, if you go to ICICI Bank, you have separate links so that you'll go to a login page. There you'll have continue to login button, and you'll have a text box to enter your username and password and click on submit, right? So these are all the UI components. So you are able to see some usual visual interface or the UI user interface, right? These are the things that come under the view component or the UI component, correct? Now you enter some detail, username and password. Suppose you will enter username and password and you'll try to give login, but you gave wrong username and password, correct? So what happens when you click on login? It goes to the server and tries to check whether the user credential that you have entered matches the server side database or not. Correct? You're trying to enter a wrong credential. So it goes to the database and verifies with it. So these credentials are not right. So the server will return back you the response saying it's an invalid login attempt. Make sense? Right? So this is a simple web application. Now, where servlets come into the picture here, right? So now, in order to implement these web applications, we have a lot of technologies like servlets, JSPs, and we have a lot of different frameworks in the market like Struts, Spring, JSF, Web 2.0, right? Tapestry. So a lot of web components wherein that helps us to develop these kind of web applications, right? So each and every technology or a framework works on a principle called servlet. All this technology, any technology or any web application framework that you name it, that is built on top of servlet. So the underlying concept of any web application is a servlet. It's a servlet based technology. So now what is a servlet? So servlet is nothing but a server side component which works on client server architecture or client server or request or response based architecture. So what do you mean by that? What do you mean by client server or request and response architecture? Right? Don't worry too much about my typo. I'm just writing ad hoc, like, so just I'm not worrying too much about my grammatical mistakes or the typings. All right. So as long as you're understanding the concept, you're good. All right. So now uh, coming back to our servlet, it is a server side component which works on client server architecture or request response architecture. So what do you mean by that? Right? So you are a client and you are expecting some response. So what is that response? Say in the browser, you're giving www.orbits.com. So from your client, your browser is a client, and from your client, you're requesting, I want the website www.orbits.com, right? If you press enter, you're sending a request to the server. To which server? To the Orbit server, right? So you're sending a request saying, okay, I want the Orbits information. So as long as your request is processed, there will be some kind of a servlet that will be built on its side. Hello? Yeah, I think there is some noise from the background. Okay, I have muted that person. Okay, so when we are requesting something, you expect some response from the server back. What is the response that you are expecting? You want a page with the orbits information, or the home page with orbits information, right? So the client is passing the request and the server is responding back with response. And what is the underlying mechanism it is happening? Servlet. Make sense? So the client is passing a request and the server is responding. So it can be called as, or it can be treated as, a client server based architecture or a request. It is passing a request, right? And what you are getting back? Response. So it can be treated as a request response architecture. Does that make sense, everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we have different things, not only the home URL. Now what you're doing, you have a link called hotels. So now you're requesting hotels. So you're sending a request to server, or you're sending the client information to server saying, hello server, I need the hotels information. So when you give hotels, it will change the URL pattern to hotels and gives you the hotels. Now you have changed your mind and you want the flights information. So now if you click on flights, the server will respond back to your request by giving the flights information. Clear? So why now you got to know why it is called a request and response architecture or a client server based thing.
Mm.
Everyone?
Yes.
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 So now this is the underlying implementation. Okay, so we have learned what is client server. Now we will try to see what will be the architecture, how it looks like. So we'll just write a pictorial or draw a pictorial diagram for that, right? So now we have something called client and we have something called database. So now you have a client, right? And you have a server. So servlet acts as an intermediate. So servlet acts as a technology to serve the client back with the response, and servlet acts as a technology to receive the client's request. Correct? So servlet is a technology which receives the client's request, it processes the client's request, and it takes the response and returns the response back to the client. Correct? Now, what is a server then? So servlet, it is a technology, but to enable or to implement the technology, you need to deploy that on top of a server. So you will have a server container. What is that? It's a Tomcat. Make sense? Everyone? Is it clear, everyone, till now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a simple understanding.
Could you
Yeah.
please explain this part again?
Oh yeah, sure.
Server and servlet.
Sure. And Naresh, sorry I interrupted you in the beginning. Again, I forgot your questions. Can you repeat your question?
No, those were generic ones. I'll ask those later.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, I was struck with Nidhi's introduction, and later I forgot about
No problem, no
yeah.
problem.
Okay, yeah. So you're expecting some again, right? So we are saying it is a client server based architecture, right? So in order to process the request, you need a client, right? Because the client is the one that processes the request, right? Now
Yeah,
you need a technology that needs to handle the request and process the request and return the response back to the client. Correct? Now, servlet is the technology that takes your request from the client and understands, okay, I need to give hotels information. So I'll go to the database, get the hotels information, and I will return back to the client as a response. So servlet is the technology that does that, that takes that request and processes the request and returns the response back. Right? Then where comes the server into this picture? As we are saying, servlet is a technology, but in order to enable the technology to work or to make the technology work, that requires a server support, and that server is Tomcat. And the server can be anything. It can be a WebLogic, it can be a WebSphere, it can be a JBoss, but we are using Tomcat because it's a simple web-based application. So we are not worried too much about other servers. Is it clear, Naresh?
Is server something like a placeholder for a servlet to perform operation?
Yes. So server is considered as a container,
Mm-hmm.
right? Servlet is a technology, but for that technology to run or to process as the request, it requires some kind of a support, and that support is provided by the server.
Okay, and uh, we should write our business logic in server, right?
In the
Either
servlet.
app or web.
In the servlet.
In servlet itself. So servlet will have our main business logic.
That's right. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
So I'll get into the detail of everything. So just I'm giving an overview of what a servlet is. That's a theoretical concept, right? And why I have given a database here, because there are some scenarios wherein you need to fetch the information from the database, right? So
Yeah.
that's the reason I have added database. So client is requesting something, so the servlet will talk to database, will fetch the database, and the servlet will return the information from the database to the client. because client cannot directly talk to the database. This cannot be done. Client cannot directly talk to the database because it does not understand. See, client is a browser, and how can the browser talk to the database, right? So the browser will talk to the servlet will talk to the database, and servlet gets the response from the database and gives the response back to the browser. Is that clear?
Yes, Venkat.
Yeah, everyone? Any questions till now? Yeah, okay. So now this is about the theoretical thing. Now, we are saying servlet is a technology, right? So as it is a technology, servlet has a life cycle. All right. See, we discussed about the life cycle of a thread, correct? So thread is a process that has a life cycle. So do you guys remember the life cycle of a thread? So anyone? Do you guys remember the life cycle of a thread?
Yeah, new, runnable, wait, and then terminate.
Yes. So it has some certain steps. When you invoke a thread or when you initialize a thread, it will be in the new state. When you start the thread, it will be in the running state. Then you can enable it to waiting, or once it is done, it will go to the terminated. Likewise, even servlet has a life cycle, right? And what is that life cycle? It is init, service, destroy. So now, what is init, service, and destroy? So from the name init, what you are getting out of it?
We are giving some input.
Creating the license.
What is that?
We are giving some input or yeah, something like that. We are
We
giving
can
input.
we can initialize if we want. Then we can build the connections,
Yeah.
and this init method is executed only once.
Yes. So now init is a method. I mean, these three are the methods that will be executed as part of servlet lifecycle. But init is a method that that will be used to initialize something. Excuse me, give me a second. Yeah. So init is a method that will be used to initialize something, and that can be anything. Suppose if you want to initialize a database connection, or you want to initialize a variable, or if you want to initialize a file system, it can be anything. And why you can initialize the data only within init method? Uh, Actually, I'm hearing my voice double voice. So, is there anything wrong? Are you guys hearing me double or
It's clear for me, Venkat.
it's clear? Okay. So now we have init method, right? So init is a method that will help you in initializing the resources, and the resources can be anything. It can be a simple connection to a database, or it can be a file handle, it can be a string variable, or it can be an object initialization. It can be anything, right? So init method helps in initializing the data. Why you will do only initialization in the init method? Because this will be called only once. So if you are initializing once, you can use multiple times. So this is the best place to do our initial things. So in the servlet lifecycle, init method will be called only once, and this helps in initializing the necessary resources. Instead of saying data, we will say necessary resources. All right. Now, what is service then?
To process the client request.
Yes. So service is a method. This is actual handle. This is the actual business logic you'll be writing. So this is the method that will be called for each and every request, right? and so this will be called for each and every request, correct? Then what it does, it processes the request and returns the response back to client, right? So service is a method that does the actual business logic, right? It takes the input or it takes the request from the client and it processes the request and it returns the response back to the client, right? Make sense? And this will be called for each and every request, so each and every click. So now if you guys observe, see, I'm giving www.bankofamerica.com, right? So when I give www.bankofamerica.com, I'm initializing the servlet. That means the init method is called once. I'm initializing the servlet. So now it is initialized. Now what I'm doing, on click of every link, the service method will be called, not the init method. Init is already called when it is initialized. So now if I do any other operation or if I click on any other link, it will go to service method. Now service method processes the request. What does it process? Okay, it processes the request from the client. So what is the request? I'm saying manage my money. So if I click on manage my money, service will give you, servlet will give you, okay, these are the tips that you have asked for. So this is the response that you are expecting. So servlet returns that. So service is a method that takes the input and processes it and returns the response back to the client, right? So that is the job of service. But actually you will not be writing any code in the service. Service is a method that will be called internally, but the actual implementation will be in the doGet or the doPost methods. Why the actual implementation will be either doGet or doPost method? Because when the service method is invoked in the lifecycle of a servlet, the service method will call either doGet or doPost, right? You will not be directly writing your code in service. You will be writing your code either in doGet method or doPost method. Why? Because service is the method that will be invoked initially. I mean, that will be invoked, but service has the different calls to either doGet or doPost. Okay, so to make you guys clear, we'll just do a simple thing. So now we have a client, right? And client will call service. Actually, when the request is raised, it will internally call service, right? But we will not be seeing where the service method is present or where it is actually implemented. We will not be worrying about it. We will be worrying what the service method is invoking. Service method either can invoke doGet method or doPost method. Don't worry about it. What is doGet, doPost? When we get into the example, we will discuss more. Right? So doGet method and doPost method. Now the service will call any of this based on the request. If you want to get only the information, then you will use doGet. If you want to post something to the server, I mean if you want to save something, say for example if you go to Google or Gmail or anything, you'll be filling a form. When you're creating an account, you'll be filling a form, right? So now once you fill the form, what you have to do, you have to post that information to the server so that the information will be saved on the server, correct? Here when you're filling a form or submitting your details, you're not getting something, you're posting something, correct? So when you're posting something, you'll be using do post. When you're getting something, you'll be using do get. Make sense, everyone?
Venkat,
Yeah.
um, you said each link there, like hotel or flights or anything,
Right.
each of those links are they will call service methods, right?
Yes, they service methods, but that will be called internally. Internal program understands that it is calling service, but based on your request, either it can redirect to a do get or a do post. Say for example, from the browser, you are expecting a get request. So then the client will call do get method. The client will call service method and service will call do get. So now in a scenario you want to post, you are posting something. Now client will call service method and service will call do post instead of calling do get because you are posting something.
Okay, so does that mean that each service method will have its own do get and do post methods?
No. See, service is a single method. It is not each service method. Right? The service is a single method that will be called for each and every request. The request can be anything, right?
Okay, so depending on what the client is requesting,
Yes.
it will either call do get or do post, and internally these two methods will call individual methods like hotel booking,
Yes.
flight booking,
Yes.
or anything.
Yes. Correct. So if
Okay.
you get into the in-depth business logic, that is what it happens internally,
Okay.
right? Yes. So are you guys clear till now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is about servlet.
So,
What is that?
so
Yeah.
yeah, you told right the program like it will be all internal.
Uh-huh.
So do we write the business logic in do get or do post thing or else?
Yes. We'll be writing our business logic in either do get or do post. We will not be writing anything in service because service is a method that will be called internally. We will not be seeing that. But to understand our functionality or to understand the life cycle, we are discussing about the service method. But whatever the logic we will be writing, we'll be writing in do get method or do post method.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah, you'll get a clear picture when you get into the practical thing. Don't worry. As of now, just try to remember what I'm saying. All right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone has any questions till now?
Yes, I had doubt.
Yeah.
Uh, when will the init method will be called? I mean,
Yeah.
when you enter the URL in website, at what time the
I mean, when
servlet
you're
will?
working, when you're expecting something, that is when the init method will be called. See, as I said, everything is a web application, right? Throughout the web. So when you are expecting something, say yahoo.com. So what you are expecting from the client, I want the information from yahoo.com. So when you call this servlet or when you call this application, initially when the servlet or whatever the framework it can be using any different like web 2.0 or struts or spring, it can be anything, but the underlying is servlets, correct? So now if you're requesting something, you need to expect a response back, right? So you need to initialize few resources. So to initialize yahoo.com, what else is required for yahoo.com, right? So when you give yahoo.com, it loads all the news information, right? So it needs to get all this news information from a different system, correct? See, it is giving us trending now. So how it is giving the trending now? It is going to a different server or a different news system and getting that information, correct? So now to initialize the connection to a different system or to establish a database connection, it will be using the init method, right? So init method is a method that will be called when you initialize a servlet. So here you have initialized it. You're calling yahoo.com for the first time. Now for each and every click, if you click on news, it will go to a different request. If you click on politics, it will go to a different thing. But init method will not be called each and every time. Only once when you gave yahoo.com, that is when your init method will be called.
Venkat,
Yeah.
what about session ID then?
Yeah, those things we'll get into. Session ID, session tracking and all, we will get into that So first of all, we will just learn the basic thing. What is servlet? How we have to manage. We will get into the session management and all in detail. What is what? How you can manage the sessions, right?
Okay, Venkat.
Yeah. So these are the next topics we are going to cover. All right. So who is that who asked the question? The init method.
Nikhil.
Okay, Nikhil. So you're clear, Nikhil?
I have one doubt.
Yeah.
So you said only one time the init method will be called, right?
Right. Yeah.
So will there be only one servlet for every URL?
Yeah, that we are not sure. If it is expecting the information from a different system, then it will be a different servlet. Then it will go to a different servlet, then it will call the init method of that particular servlet. Servlets can be anything. See, for example, you have different scenarios or you have different categories. All right, maybe I'll go to the home page again. See here, if you see the left side menu, right? So to make it easily configurable or to make it easily understandable or readable, you can write different servlets for each and everything. So mail servlet, news servlet, sports servlet. So for each and everything you can differentiate. So now when you click on sports, it will go to sports servlet. Now it will invoke the init method of sports servlet and it will process the request in the sports servlet. If you come back now within the sports servlet, if you are clicking on anything, then it will become again service. Clear?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone has any doubts till now?
No, Venkat.
Okay. Others? See,
No.
if there is no response, I'm assuming that you guys are understanding everything, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now that's about service method. Now, service method will call either do get or do post. How it will call, what will happen, what are the parameters that do get will have, we will learn in detail when we get into the practicals. Right? Now, what is the other thing? What is the final method? Destroy. So, what do you understand by the term destroy?
To release, like whatever we initiated the connection to disconnect it.
Yes. So here in the init method, we are initializing everything, right? You're creating connections, you're doing everything. But destroy method, so you want to release whatever that is created in the init method, you can use destroy. So destroy will be called when the servlet is terminated to release the initialization. So here you're initializing, helps in initializing. Here it helps in releasing the initialization. So whatever you're initializing, it will help you to release. I mean, release in the sense, it will allow you to close the resources, right? Or manage the resources, correct? Now, how many times this will be called then?
Only once.
Only once, right? It will be called only once. All right. So destroy method or init method, sorry, it's not or, init and destroy will be called only once. Whereas service method, it will be called for each and every request. Init and destroy method will be called only once. Init will be called when you are initializing the servlet and destroy method will be called when you are terminating the servlet. What do you mean by terminating? Okay, I don't want this. I'm just closing it. So you're terminating your session, right? You're closing it. You don't want it. Correct? So when you're initializing, init will be called. When you're terminating, terminate will be, destroy will be called. Is that clear, everyone? And how many times the destroy method will be called?
Only once.
It will be called only once.
Yeah. So like let's take ICICI Bank. So if you're logging in and if you're logging out,
Mhm.
then It's still the service method which is implementing, right?
If you're
It's not the
logging,
destroy.
yeah,
Just logging out.
if you're logging out, again it depends. Within that login functionality, you're killing the resources and you're killing everything, then it will be called destroy. You can override the destroy method, you can write the logic. If you want the logic destroy to be executed, you can manually enable it. Right? Again, it depends on what you want to perform. Alright, so if you click on logout, what you can do? Okay, I want to invalidate all the sessions. You have logged in with your session, say ABC user, password is XYZ. So when you log in, a new session will be created for you, and the session will be active for 2 minutes or 5 minutes. It can be anything, it can be configurable. Now if you left your system for 2 minutes idle, automatically you can configure such that if a system is left idle for 2 minutes, expire it, so that once after 2 minutes if you click on any other link, the session expires and you will come out of that screen. So you have to log in back again. Right? Have you faced that kind of scenario anytime?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So which is nothing but a web application. It is happening. The underlying implementation is servlets. So there you will specify the session expiry parameter. So session expiry parameter, say 2 minutes or 5 minutes, anything. It is in the XML. You can configure any value there. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So now this is the life cycle of a servlet. And we have understood what are the different methods that are present in the life cycle of a servlet. Now, so to
Venkat,
yeah,
um, can you tell me what happens if I close a browser session
I mean it
without
cancels the request.
any logout or anything?
I mean it didn't see again whatever the application. Say suppose if you are closing the browser, again it kills all the resources. Say for example, if you log into your banking sites, it depends.
Without any login thing. See, okay, I understand about login and logout part
Yeah,
for security purpose, but just say if I have clicked kayak.com or yahoo.com,
right.
what is there to destroy?
I mean suppose see when you are doing this, this will establish a connection to fetch the initial data, right? See here you're getting all the information by default. You're getting the best hotels or the best deals. So how it is getting the best deals? Maybe it is invoking a different service or a different system, right? So to invoke the different system, it needs to initialize a connection to that system,
Yeah.
right? So now if you're closing it and if you're still holding the resources, what is the point? So you need to close all the things, right? So when you're terminating something, then destroy will be used. You can override the
Okay.
destroy method to terminate something.
Okay. Since login is not involved in this site,
Okay.
what if I just open some link and keep it as it is, idle for say 1 hour or 2 hour?
Yeah, again,
Won't the destroy method be called back in server?
no, destroy will be called only when you're terminating it. All right. So
What if I leave this page as it is for say a day?
it doesn't matter. See, whatever you do, it doesn't matter. You already established a connection, so it will wait. So it doesn't matter for you. So what I am trying to say is, if you want to close exactly anything, if you are terminating the service, if you're terminating a servlet, then the destroy will be called. So even though
Okay,
if you left your site like that, so there is nothing wrong. You'll not be closing your resources. Just you'll be left over. That's it. You'll be leaving the resources like that. So what will happen if there is any inactive time or if you are not using a browser internally, I mean the logic they will implement in that particular site, it will be okay. If there are any inactive instances, just release the resources. Now again, if you click on any other thing, then again okay, it will activate the resources.
okay.
Right? So they see everyone see you're talking about the business functionality of once. We may not know the business functionality what they will be doing, right? So if it is not a mission critical site and if it is not having a lot of load, they will not even worry about closing the resources. But if it is a really mission critical site and it involves lot of connections or lot of load, then they will write some business logic out of them, so that if it is inactive, if you are not clicking anything for next 2 hours or 3 hours, they'll say, okay, don't make this active, make it inactive. On click of anything, then you make it active.
Okay.
Right? Make
Okay,
sense?
Venkat.
Yeah. Everyone?
So when we're searching on Google,
Mhm.
uh, so initially the init process, what it does is it makes connection with the Google servers and the Google database, right?
Right.
And service will give us whatever we have searched for.
Right.
That is the request.
Right.
And Discover will just close the connections with the Google server, right?
Right. And again, I'm not saying all the sites are built on Java. I'm saying whatever the web applications that are built on Java follows this. And there can be applications that are built on ASP.NET or a different technology. Right? I'm not sure what technology is Java built on. It can be built on a PHP or it can be built on ASP.NET. We are not sure. Just we are taking an example of some site
Yes.
and
Yes.
considering that. Right? I'm not generalizing that it is a Java based technology.
Yeah.
All right. Yes. So now that is the life cycle of the servlet. Now, so we are saying web applications, right? So how does a web application look like? So you're writing a servlet and you cannot just execute the servlet normally, correct? You need to execute the servlet as part of web application. Till now, how we created a project, how we have created our project. It is a simple Java project, right? So now going forward, we have to create a web project. And what type of a web project it is? It is a dynamic web project. Why I'm saying it is dynamic? Because it performs the dynamic operations like fetching the data from DB, inserting DB, or calling a different service, getting information from a different service. So it does a dynamic operation. So it's a kind of a dynamic web project. So now going forward, when you create a new project, you'll be creating a dynamic web project. And why I'm saying it is a web project? Because we are dealing with servlet technology. So anything which deals with servlet technology is a web project. And so in order to run this web project, what is that you require? What is the container that you require?
Servers.
Two
Server is a container.
containers.
Server.
Yeah.
Server is a container. So in order to see, simple Java project does not require any help. It can just directly run by using the main method. You can just do right click Java application, it runs. But the web applications requires server support. All right.
Okay.
Yes. So now we are talking about web application. So now how does the web application looks like? See what how we have written the Java projects, right? How does the Java project look like when we let me open the Java project? Right? How it look? So Java project, it has SRC, right? Just SRC, and SRC is where you will write all your programs, correct? Right? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah. So why is the doubt? Because we have written a lot of programs. So why is the doubt in your mind? Right? So every day we have created a lot of packages, a lot of programs, right? So we have created a Java project, and within the Java project we have source SRC folder, and within that SRC we will create our packages and write our programs. Correct? That is a simple Java project. Now, what is the difference between a simple Java project and web project? What is that extra that you have in the web project? Web project, you are seeing something visual, right? You are seeing something in the output. Okay, it has images, it has this bridge image, it has some kind of styles. The kayak is written in a stylish manner, it has some links, right? There is a page, this is a JSP page, correct? This is a HTML, right? So there are a lot of UI components that involves. So along with SRC, the web project requires the web content also. What is the web content? The web content can be anything. So along with SRC, it will have web content. And what you will have in SRC? All the Java programs. What you will have in web content? It can be anything. It can have images, it can have styles, it can have JavaScript files, JS files, it can have HTML files, or it can have JSP files, anything. It can have anything along with the WebINF folder. So this is the heart of any web application, and it should be in capitals. See, in the web application, how can you name an application as a web application? If the application has a folder structure with WebINF folder, then it is called a web application. What is WebINF? It is web information, right? So you are saying web information. So what is that it will have? So WebINF will have something called classes folder and the configuration files, and the configuration file is web.xml. So what is that web.xml? So web.xml is the heart, or it is the main file that is used in the web application. So we are saying, okay, when you are calling hotels, see here, when I'm clicking on hotels, when the URL is hotels, you are calling hotel servlet. But how it is mapped, how the application understands when hotels is called, it should call hotel servlet. How the mapping is done? The mapping is done within web.xml, right? And this is the heart of any web application. Why I'm saying it as heart? Because this is the main file. This is the main file in web application. Without this, it will not run, right? So internally, it will understand that it will have a web.xml. And what is the classes folder file for? The classes folder is the class files that we write in the Java programs. Those programs will come and sit in the classes folder, right? See, Java program, when you compile a Java program, it turns into .class file, correct? This we discussed in the initial session. Java program will be converted to a .class file, and the .class file can be executed anywhere, any operation, any operator. Any operating system. So the .class file, Java is, I said, like Java is independent of the operating system, right? What does it mean? If you have a class file compiled on one machine, that class file can be executed on any type of environment, right? So this I explained in the initial days, like first or second session. Do you guys remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a classes. So now what will be stored under the classes folder? It will be all the Java classes, whatever we have written in the source folder. The classes, compiled classes will come and sit in the classes folder. All right. So now we will just see how we have written the programs previously. We will just see. You guys were having doubt, right? What is the source folder? What is it? We will just go and verify with our code base. Are you guys clear till now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So everyone else, are you following? Bala, Narsimha, Monica, Naresh, Nidhi? Nikhil,
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ravant. Hey, Ravant, are you new to our class? Because I haven't seen you.
It's Jeevan.
Oh, Jeevan, you logged in the name of Ravant. Okay.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Jeevan, what happened to other guys? Praveen,
Uh,
Ashwath.
they have a class.
Okay. Ask them to go through the recording, all right? Because this is the first session in the advanced technologies. Okay. I don't want them to miss. So ask them to go through this.
Okay.
Okay. What happened to Midin?
He's in the class.
Okay. Okay. So whoever are their roommates, just try to convey the message. So ask them to read by tomorrow, because tomorrow we will doing the practical things, right? So I don't want them to get into surprise feeling that what's happening, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So now see here, we have created a simple project, and what is the main thing we have? SRC folder, right? Under, so what is SRC? SRC is nothing but source folder. Under SRC, we have written our packages and programs. Correct? That is what I was telling you. We have written a Java project and we have SRC folder, and under SRC we have written our programs. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone? Yes. So
Yes.
as simple. This is a simple Java project. That is the reason it has only SRC folder. Now, what if it is a web project? What is the difference that it has? If it is a web project, it will have
Web content.
web content extra, as well as within the web content you'll have WebInf. The web content can be either web content or it can be called as a web app, because it is a web application, right? So it can be treated as a web content or a web app. So now, if you create a dynamic web project, so today, just for today, we will just try to create a simple dynamic web project. All right. So now I'm closing everything, right? I'm closing this project too, because we are not interested in doing the standalone programs. All right. So now, how to create a dynamic web project? So just right click here, go to new, click on project, and in the filter type web, and the web is dynamic web project, right? So now what is the project name we want to give? Anything, web app or first web application, it can be anything, and you will click next. See here, content directory. Here you are naming your content directory as web content. That is what I mentioned, right? Now if you click on finish, it created you a project. And if you just open the project structure, what all it has? It has SRC, Java resources, correct? SRC. And along with it has web content as well. That is what I said, right? Right?
Yeah.
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 And again, under web content, what we have? WebInf. And what is the WebInf?
Web
It should have the uppercase.
class.
It should have the uppercase, WebInf. So now, whatever the classes you write here, the programs, it will come and sit in the classes folder under WebInf. And what is the other thing you will have? The important thing that you need to write when you are creating a web application?
Web.xml.
Web.xml. And the web.xml should be created under WebInf folder. Got it? And what you will do in web.xml? You'll specify the information about the web application. You'll specify the information about the mappings, what needs to happen when you click on that link, where it needs to map, what it should happen. So you'll map everything under web.xml. And now, in the latest versions of Java, you don't even require web.xml. You can manage everything using annotations, right? So now we have two types of configuring web applications, either by using web.xml or by using annotations. We will try to see examples using both. All right. Does that make sense, everyone? Till now, is it clear? What is a web application project? What is a servlet? What are the life cycle methods within a servlet? Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So yeah. So this is the basic description or discussion about the servlet. So tomorrow we will see the practical examples or how to implement a servlet. Right. So now, before winding up our session, I'll just go back to threading. So what are the different ways of implementing a thread?
Extends thread and implements runnable interface.
Right. So when you extend the thread or implement a runnable interface, what is the method that you have to override?
Run.
Run method. Likewise, servlets are a technology that extends HTTP servlet. So when you're extending HTTP servlet, there is something that you need to override. What are those? Those are nothing but the lifecycle methods. They are do get and do post. So how you are overriding the run method in thread, you will be overriding do get and do post in servlet. All right. And if you really want to initialize something, you can write init method. And once you're done with this, you can just call destroy method. Clear? So what is that you will be extending with to create a servlet? HTTP servlet. And HTTP servlet is an abstract class. So what do you mean by abstract class? If you are implementing an abstract class, you need to override the methods that are present in that abstract class.
Yeah.
Clear? So now you will try to understand the basic concepts, whatever you have learned. So you are putting your basic concepts into the actual work. Right?
Yeah.
All right. Yes. So yeah. So that is about today's session. So if you guys have any questions, you can just ask me.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, so you told right to create web applications, like you show something in the Java.
Mhm.
So in that, we'll write the actual business logic in Java source or else,
Yes. Yes.
or else in web.xml.
No, web.xml is only to map the request, to map where it should go. Web.xml is only to map it. To say, okay, say for example, you're Monica, right?
Yeah.
How I will come to know that you are Monica? Because you have a name. You are mapping in this training. You are mapped with a name called Monica. Suppose if I want to call Naresh, I will map with a name called Naresh. So if I call Monica, you will respond. If I call Naresh, Naresh will respond. So we are humans, so we are able to communicate orally. But how does the technology understands? So you need to particularly configure it somewhere, right? So if you want, okay, hotels. So hotels you will configure in that web.xml and you'll specify whenever hotels is called, call this servlet. So it goes to hotel servlet, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So again, it goes to summary means, like from web.xml it goes to Java source,
Yes.
where our exact business logic is.
Yes. I'll tell you.
What should it?
Don't worry. Just you'll get there. When I create an example and when I show you, right, you'll understand. Oh, this is what it is happening.
Okay.
Okay. See, this is just a theoretical concept, right? So out of theory, you'll not get 100%. You'll just understand how does it work and how to implement it. But what to write and how to make it work, we will see tomorrow.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyone has any other questions?
Yes, bro.
Yeah. Who's that?
This is Nikhil.
Yeah, Nikhil. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you use servlet
Can you use servlet? What?
with web services unlike web application?
No, your voice is breaking. Can you use servlet what?
For web service.
Yeah, you can use Servlet for web services. Yes, you can use Servlet for anything. You can use Servlet to connect to a database, or you can use Servlet to connect to a web service, or you can use Servlet to connect to a third-party integration system. You can do anything with Servlet.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyone else? All right. So if you guys are silent, I think that you guys understood everything, right? Okay, then again we'll meet tomorrow. So everyone knows about tomorrow's session, right? At what time? At 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
EST 7 to 8. 4.
Yeah, EST 7 to 8, PST 4 to 6. Yeah. Yeah. So Vani, you're there?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard your voice today. So how about Likita? Bala?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Everything clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Narsimha, I think he already left. Okay. Praveen, Jeevan.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay, then we will meet again tomorrow.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye bye.
Okay,
Have
thanks.
a good night. Bye. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.